So good morning everybody and welcome to this week's workshop. Last week we spoke about presenting on camera well. This is part of a digital creation hub which is presented by the Esperance Community Arts, and again I'd like to thank Dave and Janine for their work in assisting for the live streaming for the audience at home. So if you are listening at home, hello. My name's Pauline Bonney and I was originally a presenter for GWN and also a broadcaster, a radio presenter or radio broadcaster for Jimabulka Radio in Kalgoorlie, and so my knowledge from that is really what I'm presenting today to help people to present their stories across well on camera and also to be able to record well, interviews well as well. So thank you and welcome. Okay, so last week we spoke about three things. That was presenting on camera. The main things that we talked about were posture, gestures, eye line, making sure that if you're talking to the camera, your eye line is at the camera, you're not looking all around the room, that your audience doesn't get confused. We also spoke about word fillers, and the main point from that was just to making sure that we breathe, have pauses, be okay to allow your thoughts to go through your main ideas and allow that idea to come through and then pause and then allow the next idea to come through. So that was really what we talked about last week. We did a fantastic little exercise afterwards where everybody got to tell stories, something funny about that happened in their life, and then having a look back at yourself. So this week really it's a carry on from that, and I want to really get you to be able to be confident on camera. You know, sometimes things happen in life, you can get a bit ruffled or a bit shaken up, and it can kind of make you doubt yourself, or you can feel a little bit like, oh, you know, am I confident enough to do this? But if you have the skills and you just keep practicing, you will be able to. Once you know those skills, you just always draw back on them. So today we're talking about poise, which I think is probably a perfect subject for today. And that really is about how you present yourself to others, how you speak, whether you're speaking really fast because you're nervous or whether you're fidgeting around because you're nervous. It's really just about staying calm, allowing others to hear your message and allowing yourself to be really, allowing your audience to focus on what you're trying to deliver. So that's really the key. So I've given out a little handout, and in there, there's a few points that I would just want to go through. So how can you show poise? The second point is really, it involves the way we stand, it involves the way we sit without fidgeting, and also speaking in a calm manner, which I just spoke about. Also helping your audience to concentrate on your delivery, because you want them to be able to really focus on the importance of what it is you're talking about. And if you stay calm and if you're focused on what you're talking about rather than thinking of all these 101 other things, especially as women, I think we tend to do that. Oh, did I turn that iron off at home? Or did I, do this? Or did I do that? And our mind, we can think of 3 or 4 things at once. And so what happens is then we're like, oh, hang on, no, where was I? So we have to remember, and I think one of the biggest things for me is I just try to bring my mind back to what am I doing now? You know, like driving a car, you have to focus on the road ahead. And it's a bit like that with a camera. Try not to allow your mind to wander too much, because if it does, then all of a sudden there's all these different thoughts coming in and you kind of tend to lose yourself a little bit. So I think for me that's one of the biggest things that I try to draw back on. It's just like, okay, come back to here, come back to where you need to be in the moment right now so that you can focus on your delivery. So on the next page, well actually, firstly, one of the things I wanted to really explain about was what can make us lose our poise. So there are a number of things, but the 2 main things that I've come up with, it's really the way we view ourselves. So if we think, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, there's a lot of other people out there that, they're better on camera than me, I can't do this, then we've already basically given ourselves failure. So the way we view ourselves is really important, and the second one is also the way that we think others view us. And often people aren't judging us. We think, oh, my hair's not quite right today, or I've got that blemish there, oh, that pimple came up this morning, what's going on? They're going to focus on that, But that's not the case. really people are just focusing on your message, and as long as you're projecting that across, they couldn't care less if you had that pimple. They don't know that that pimple wasn't there yesterday or the day before that. So I think for us really it's about not focusing on ourselves and just focusing on the message that we're trying to get across to the audience. Because the more we self-analyse in a negative sense, the more it's going to come across. So if I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, I just feel so terrible today, you know, my body posture is going to go down like this, and I'm going to sort of probably lean, and I'm going to be looking like this, and I'm going to feel terrible. But we don't want to do that. Okay, we want to open up because we want our audience to engage with us. So on the second page, what I've done is I've just written down some points that can help us to have poise. So really the main point is know your material well. If we know our material well, then we don't have to really think too much about what we're talking about. It's already there. If we go over the material, then we've already got it in our mind. We talked about that last week, and we went over we practiced the little stories that we had. We already knew them. You know, they were stories that we could tell over and over and over, so we didn't really have to think about them. It was just so easy to retell these stories because they were already in our mind, which meant that we could focus on, you know, the audience getting a really good version of it. So that's really the key. The second one is to breathe and to think positive before you start filming. And the tip that I do, as you would have saw before we started today, is you've got to just get your mind into a really calm state. Breathing, give yourself either 30 seconds or a minute and just think about what it is you need to do. I'm not focusing on failing, I'm not focusing on what the audience is thinking, I'm focusing on, okay, what am I doing this for? I'm doing this so that, you know, you can get some tips from me to help you. This is not about me, this is about how I can help you. So I always focus on the audience and what they're getting from it, not so much about me and the way that I deliver. The third one is to practice your content out loud. I can't stress this one enough. It really is so important to feel comfortable in the way that you deliver. You know, we talk out loud and then we hear ourselves on camera and we're like, oh my goodness, do I really sound like that? You know, we tend to be so harsh and critical, and it's normal because when we are reflected back on the screen, we look differently. When we hear ourselves, we sound differently. So the more you can practice, the more you're going to accept that, okay, yeah, this is me, and that's okay. This is okay that I sound like this. And then you become comfortable with the screen. And it may take a few times to do this, but once you do it, the more you do it, the more confident you'll become. And I think practice is really the key. Just keep going over it. I will often just go over a script, and till I feel really comfortable with the camera, then I will record. But I won't record straight away. I'll do it maybe 2 or 3 times until I know that I feel comfortable first, and then press record. Because once you press record, if you're not confident in your script and what you're saying, what happens is you're automatically recording all the things that you've done wrong and you haven't practiced, and so that heightens it and it highlights every little thing that you're doing, and so you're kind of like, oh my goodness, I just sound so terrible. But everybody does. If I was to press record on my first take, I would be like, oh my goodness, I need to quit this right now. You know, so I think everybody feels that way. So don't just practice first, and then when you're comfortable, then press record, okay? And another one is to assess yourself and make necessary changes. So this is really just about evaluation. It's about, what do I need to change? Do I need to speed up my words? How long does my presentation have to be? Do I need to pause to really emphasise the main points a little bit better? You know, am I a bit nervous? Am I talking too fast? Is my breathing okay? Can people understand my level of audio? Or am I speaking too quietly? Or am I speaking too loudly? You know, so it's really just about you adjusting the way that you're delivering. Because this is about your audience being able to understand you. It's not about you, it's about them getting the message clear. So just keep refocusing on that as well. And so the last one was really to remember to stay focused on your delivery, why you are getting your message out there, and that, like I said, nobody's focused on, you know, that hair that's out of place over here or that little blemish that's come up. Really, if you remain focused and confident, people will focus on you, on what you're saying, rather than actually on your physical appearance. Okay, so that's really the key. So get your content right. Know what the end delivery needs to be. If you know what your content is about and what you want your audience to get out of it, then you will focus on that. That's so I spoke about last week my time with GWN and how I really wanted to make sure that at the end of every presentation a positive story came out. I was focused on making sure that the person I was interviewing, they were left feeling good, that the audience was left feeling good. So that was really the purpose of my journalism for that particular show. And so that was my content, that's what I was focused on. So whatever it is that you're delivering, whether it be, okay, I want to encourage children to read books, or I would like to encourage people to paint, or I would like to talk about a hobby that I have, and that's something that I'm going to record. Just think about, what do I want my audience to get out of this? And that's what your main content and focus will be on. So do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Is that pretty clear, Thoraya?
Just
Yep.
one, yeah. At the end of that, would you be sort of trying to give it any kind of summary then, if you were saying, is that something that you think about in the delivery as far as, or just try to close with something positive?
Yeah, I just always try to close with something positive. Yeah. If your story is something where you're, say, retelling a story that has got some sad points in it, you're taking your listeners on a journey. So you want to make sure that when you take them on that journey, you don't bring them down too low in an emotional journey, and so that when you come back up, they're still down in that really low. You want to make sure that you leave them on a positive note. So yeah, okay, I have to tell some sad parts about this. So if I'm telling a story about something that's happened in history or whatever, and it's got some sad things, then make sure that you go down just far enough to bring them back up, and then they've got the point, but when they come out of it, they're still going, oh yeah, I've got that point, but I'm not left feeling absolutely miserable now, and I don't want to listen to that lady again because, you know, that's just made me feel so terrible. Yeah, you are going to have those points, but you don't want to be so low that you can't come out of it emotionally, basically. So that's one of the biggest things that I try to do, is don't go too deep with them, and make sure if you've got to cut stuff out, then do it. You still want to tell the truth of what you're talking about, but you want to make sure that it's not too much for your audience to be able to take, basically, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just sort of that
Yeah.
idea of
Yeah.
how you want to end, because sometimes
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I'm not quite sure how to bring it together.
Yeah. If you want to recap, you can, Thoraya. You know, if you want to be able to just highlight those main things right at the end as a conclusion, then you can do that.
But in a positive way.
Yeah, but in a positive way. These are the main points that I've got out of it, that I would like you to get out of it, this and this. It's up to you. It's really the style. If it's just a storytelling style, then you would incorporate that into the end, but rather than it be more like a structured dot point thing, you would just bring those main points in as a sentence.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Just a sentence, so that it's more natural and people are getting the point, but it's not like ... Was the other thing I was thinking too was, I've lost my point now. What was going to say? Yeah, no, I've lost my point. But yeah, pretty much, I think if you do that, it depends on the structure. It really does depend on the structure of what you're trying to deliver. Yeah, I guess that's the key. Yeah, so.
That's good.
Yeah, are there any other questions, ladies? No? So do you all understand that pretty well? Is that, yeah, you've got that okay? So the key is really breathing, knowing your material. Don't think about the audience, think about what you're trying to get out there. Focus on more what you would like them to get from your content, rather than focusing on yourself. And just practice again and practice again until you feel confident. The more you spend time with the camera, the more confident you're going to get. It's really about just having a go and looking at yourself and being okay with how you appear on camera. If you're okay with how you appear and how you sound, then you're going to be like, well, yep, okay, this is who I am. This is what makes me unique. This is what makes me me. And this is really just about the story that I'm trying to get out there. So that's pretty much it. So that's the first part of this workshop. And the second part is, again, practicing. So what we'll do is we'll get the iPads and we will, again, I think this time what I'll do is I'll get you to record yourselves, because that's a little bit more intimidating. It's easier when somebody else records you because you're just talking to the camera. When you've actually got your face looking back at you and you actually have to talk into that camera, you're seeing yourself. It's kind of like, oh my goodness, okay, this is a little bit more scarier. But the key is to be okay with who you are and be okay with looking back at yourself and going, this is just me, it's fine. So I think that's what we'll do today. We'll just do that activity, and we might pick a little story, something in the community or something that you're doing. Thoraya, maybe for you, you know, it could be about the Arts Centre, a little bit about the Arts Centre, and you can actually retell that. So we'll pick some little stories and we'll actually record. So we'll do that now, and that's really the next part of this, because I want you to be comfortable, again, just looking at the camera. Okay, so that's pretty much the first part.